My name is Brian Stevens, and you're watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for watching today. We've got a demo video. You've probably seen thousands of videos on the internet about this Mora knife, companion knife. I actually talked about this knife in another video about 4 very low cost, high quality knives that you could buy. And today what I thought I'd do is go into a little more detail and just show you my kind of pressure test of this knife. It's getting kind of dark out here, the sun's going down, so I hope I have enough light to finish this, but bear with me, let me readjust the camera and we'll get started. Okay, this is the Mora knife, the companion knife, and the sheath that comes with it. Let me start by saying one of the things I'm really not thrilled about is the sheath. It actually snaps in pretty good there, so it's not horrible, don't misunderstand me, it snaps in pretty good, it's got a little tension there. I've noticed as it gets colder or whatever, you see how easy that came out. The sheath drops out pretty easily. So, you know, again, this knife's around 15 bucks or less, so it's not a deal breaker for me. But it does have this hard plastic sheath. It's got the clip-on back that you can actually open up and snap on your belt without taking your belt off. So that's a plus. But the sheath is, you know, as long as you're wearing it, it's probably not going to fall out. But I've noticed when I'm carrying it around or taking it off my belt or whatever, there's a danger of it falling out. So anyway, that's enough about the sheath. Let's talk a little bit about the knife. I got a carbon steel knife. This was the carbon steel. They also make this in stainless. And so that there's a potential for striking sparks from a rock for making a flint and steel fire. I'll be honest with you, I've had very little success with that, if any. It's really, really hard to get a spark. The other downside a little bit is the back, the back spine of this knife is not really a sharp 90 degrees. And I'll show you why that's important. Okay, like I said, the back of the knife is not a really sharp, the spine is it's just got a little bit of roundness to it. And that is a drawback if you're trying to use the back of your knife to scrape a ferro rod, because you can see, you get a few sparks, you just don't get many sparks out of that. At least not compared to the sparks you would get, say, from the back of this Pathfinder trade knife, which does have, you can see the difference. It does have a sharp 90-degree spine. So one of the things that it's probably going to want to do if you get one of these knives is just take a file and file the back of it. I've not done that because I wanted to do this demo on the actual stock knife. I've had this for about a year, I've been using it, I've just never got around to doing that. So this is not a full tang knife, it's very lightweight. This thing costs around 13 bucks, okay? 13 bucks. It's about, the blade is 0.10 inches, about 2.5 millimeters thick. It is a 4-inch or 104 millimeter long blade. It's 8.5 inches overall, which is around 220 millimeters long. And it weighs about 4.1 ounces, which I think is 116 grams. I got all this information obviously off of the internet. They do have a heavy duty model out, which is about an 1/8 inch thick and is a little heavier, bigger handle, so it weighs a little more. But it's the same basic knife shape. So it's very, very lightweight, easy, just toss it in your pack and you'll forget it. You're not even gonna know it's there. It's always a really good backup blade. It is Scandinavian, got what's called a Scandinavian grind on it, which means it is there's not a lot of bevel here or anything, it's just a straight grind. This thing is sharp just sharp, as sharp as a razor. It is scary sharp, as they say, so that's one of the big benefits to this knife. Let's do a couple of use tests and maybe an abuse test, and see how it fares up, because it does not have the full tang. And this thing's, a lot of people that are really into the serious heavy knives kind of poo-poo these knives like, well, they're good for toys or whatever, but they are extremely popular. So let's take a look and see how well it actually performs. Okay, one of the things these knives shine at, obviously, is like making feather sticks. So you can see the tiny shavings this thing pulls up, and it's I'm using my thumb to control it, but I'm not pushing at all. It's just no effort. It's like cutting butter. And this is pretty hard wood. This is oak, so it's quick, those little tiny shavings. So as far as fine carving tasks, this knife is great. But what about heavier bushcraft type tasks? Well, let's take a look at how well it chops first of all, just a stick. And it's not going to chop it all like this, but so we'll do a little batoning maybe. And I'm going to baton this thing with a heavier, pretty heavy stick, and we'll see what happens. Now, if you're not familiar with the batoning is a technique where you can use a small blade to cut a bigger piece of wood and use the mass of a baton to drive the knife into the wood. So again, this is really hard oak. So it's not a piece of soft wood. We'll see how well this works. Okay, so I was hitting that pretty hard, and it cut through the wood very well. Let's do it one more time so you can see this is not a trick. And this time, instead of cutting a wedge out, we'll just beat the fire out of it. So it kind of went crooked on me, and therefore having a hard time getting the leverage on it. So we'll get on the edge of it. Knock it off. Okay, so it's batoned about a 1-inch piece of wood. What about splitting a larger piece of wood? Okay, so obviously there's going to be a limit to the size of wood you can split with this, because you got to have enough room left of the blade sticking out of the wood so you have something to hit. And I found this little piece of firewood. Now you can see that we got about that much sticking out, so we should be okay. Let's try this and see how it works. So we're going to start with a handle pretty close here, give ourselves as much room on the outside as we got, as we can. And then sometimes you have to, as it starts going down, you got to maybe have to tap on the handle and straighten it out. But this is really the weak point of knives, is when you're beating on this handle here, or on the tip of the blade rather. We turn around, tap on the handle some more. Might have to drive it back in a little bit. Here, so if you're trying to split down wood to get to the dryer center, obviously, you know, there's limits to this knife. A larger knife with a full tang that's a little stronger, but especially a little longer blade, is definitely going to be a better option for batoning or splitting bigger wood. So every tool has its limits, and this one certainly does too. But I beat the heck out of this thing pretty good. I was hitting it really hard. It doesn't seem to be any damage. It's not the first time I've batoned with it, so I think it's a pretty good knife. All right, just to show you that the Mora is none the worse for the wear. Show you that we can still carve some really fine shavings. This thing didn't hurt it at all. So still razor sharp. All right, well, that is the Mora Companion knife. Once again, this is around 13 bucks on Amazon. Certainly, like every tool, it has its limits, but for the money and for the quality, I don't think it can be beat. And hope this has been helpful. If you've been thinking about getting one of these knives, just do it. It's a no-brainer. You will be happy, I promise you. So this is Brian with Survival on Purpose. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. Click the old thumbs up down there if you like it. Tell your friends about it if you think they would. This has been Brian Stevens, and you've been watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident. See you next time.